fam, thanks for clicking that button. You're about to see another episode of I'm Telling You with me, Philly D, and Mr. Gemini, where we're going to go from a personal story of his first concussion leads to a thought experiment after hearing a Mr. Ballen story, and then we get into consciousness. Yeah, it's going to be another deep episode as usual, so hit us in the comments, tell us what you're resonating with. Maybe you're thinking of something that we didn't even think of, but I don't know. We're going to get into it. See you in a hot minute, fam.
I'm telling you, man. Since I was a kid, I've always kind of, I don't have to tell you, but been a bit far out.
That's putting it mildly.
Well, I mean, elementary school. So I moved here when I was second grade. In second grade,
When I was second grade. You were two in second grade?
When I was in second grade, we moved here. And like basically half through the year. So like I got in and finished my year in a whole new school in a new state. So I had a little trouble kind of like, it was at a weird age to move. So I was one of those kids I'd actually go out during recess and meditate. And now I don't know how to do it anymore. It's so funny. I used to just be natural at it.
When you were 8?
Pretty much, yeah.
You were like a little Mahatma Gandhi?
It was the weird, like, it's just what made me comfortable. Like, if this is recess, I can do whatever I want with it. I love being outside, like, especially, from a young age. Love being outside. Felt like, I'm part of everything, part of the wind, part of the grass, the flowers. Like, I was one of those kids I could just space out and have a great old time.
Do you think the concussions had anything to do with that?
It's possible. I want to say this is pre-concussion, but no, by the time I was that age, I'd already had one that I know of.
Well, there was the barrel incident.
Yeah.
So that's,
So that was.
So yeah, I had, what had happened was.
That was, yeah. Schools used to have.
You're going to blame the school on this?
Less safety features than they do nowadays. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't a thing. Like seatbelts were optional,
we would sleep in the rear deck of the car while driving 80 miles an hour down the road.
It was so much fun. And
it was so much fun. Yeah.
But trash cans that were basically like 55-gallon drums, like oil drums, basically, with just a trash bag liner in it. And this one happened it was cleaned out and we decided to jump in it. And I think it was kindergarten. So I couldn't have 3, 4, I don't know. How old are you?
6.
6. Well, I think I started a little early, but maybe not that early.
Well, that would have been pre-kindergarten.
Pre-K, maybe.
Yeah, that's what the K stands for.
Just a lot of outdoor play and...
Is that what you tell your... Show me on the doll where he touched you.
Bring it on, whatever. I'm trying to be serious. It's all good.
So
anyway,
you and the barrel.
Yeah, we just decided to start rocking the barrel, like pushing back and forth against each other. Like we're basically like just got each other gripped up like this. Just being kids, And the whole thing falls over, of course, on my side when it finally tips. So I got this, and then it knocked his head because he was basically on top of me at that point, and then mine knocked back again. So I know you couldn't hear all that in the mic because I kept moving my head, but
show me on the doll.
Trying to do the visual. But yeah, I think that's I believe the first concussion I ever had
that I can remember having.
So I don't know. I don't know if that had any effect on me later on in life or not. I mean, because I had I've told you, I've had strange experiences from when I was really young. There was a time when I'd be excited to get ready to go to sleep at night because I would actually, again, do this strange meditation where I basically saw spirit images of like, crystalline, glowing crystalline vehicles, about like yay big, flying around the room. Perfectly clearly saw it, was awake, eyes open.
No, but when you mean flying around the room, like without pattern, in a sense, almost like a bug just doing its thing.
nearly intersecting with each other, but like in this kind of dance.
Like lightning bugs zooming around the sky.
I mean, but more so moving around like spaceships would, but tiny ones. Dude, I can't explain. I don't know.
Like batteries not included, the little UFOs that build new ones.
Similar, but imagine like they're completely clear. And you could imagine you could almost see through the outside of the spaceships into the tiny people walking around controlling things inside. It was really kind of trippy. Very, very, I can't think. 3-4 years old, probably. And never liked taking naps, but I remember that short period of time, definitely in theta, right? At that point. I say like till 7 or something like that.
Yeah, mostly theta.
But I don't know. I still, to this day, I'm curious about it. So, had contusions or not, I'm not really sure. I think I've always just been a little eccentric.
I was to say special.
I don't know if special is the right. Eccentric? I'm into the weird stuff, even when I was a little kid. Like Mysteries They Then Explain. Remember those books? There was like a book series, like you get like 3 of them. They were like these huge volumes. Mysteries of the Unexplained. I don't know, Time Life or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
one of those things you could order, and
right.
My mom had got them because, whatever, for the family. And we had, just like a lot of families, we had, a portion of the Encyclopedia Britannica. And we had those. This was before you could find everything on a device that fits in your back pocket. You had to actually look things up. So one of the things,
you got to look them up on your phone.
I was fascinated with, I would just spend whole afternoons flipping through this book, like reading stories and looking at the pictures and, strange things like, UFOs, unexplained ball lightning,
Sasquatch
sightings, all kind, whatever.
Chupacabra.
It was basically, at the time, it was a collection of several volumes, basically, of everything that was written about that was out of the ordinary or unexplained in some way. Or I guess
unexplained mysteries.
Unexplained mysteries, yeah.
Right.
So that kind of thing. I was always into that kind of thing. Took me a long time actually to start being interested in reading. I mean, I'd read what I had to get by in school pretty much throughout high school. It wasn't until after high school I actually started reading for interest.
Yeah, I get that.
Personal interest. But much more enjoy just being outside, playing outside all the time.
You could actually ride your bike without a helmet.
Dude, and that's what you did. You rode everywhere on your bike.
Or your friend's bike.
You didn't call each other.
Yeah, you did. You were like, "Hey, are you home? I'll be right down." Yeah, we would just always have had those. I mean, because me growing up, I mean, thinking about it the same as you is my imagination would just run wild. And I wanted to just kind of be alone and away from everybody and just let my mind just...
Not all the time.
No, most of the time.
But a lot of the time, I mean... And I know, like, a lot of us were... I had a lot of friends that would, unless they had something planned, they do their homework or something, they just sit on their bed and, like, listen to music, listen to an entire album. Like, that's the kind of stuff we used to do. In a way, that's a heck of a lot better than just sitting there doing this anyway.
Death scrolling, as they call it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's dangerous. Like, if that happens to you reading a book, it's like, then you get kind of something out of it at the end. Not like all this disjointed, disharmonious kind of queasy feeling after a while. Like, you can read a book, get really into it, read a chapter or two, and then go to bed. Right to sleep. Where I feel like doing this on the phone for so long, I don't know if it's the blue light or whatever it is. It takes me another half an hour to kind of come down off of that.
Maybe it's the 5G.
Is it? I mean, it seems like they are trying to kill us with the stuff in the food and in the air, radio waves, redacted. Sorry.
You're setting an example here.
So I had this really weird, I don't even want to call it a thought experiment, but I guess if I'm bringing it up now, then it would be more like a thought experiment because now I'm telling it to somebody and,
That makes it real.
So it does in a way. So I think it was watching a video of one of the guys you said you're aware of, but you didn't really like because a lot of his stuff is kind of creepy and like true and like murders and weird stuff like that.
Mr. Ballen.
Mr. Ball. I think it was one of his, but it was this story about, I found it really intriguing. This was a really interesting one. I think it was his. I may be wrong, but this started this whole thought experiment. This kid's at college, right? This young man is at college and he's daydreaming about this girl that's in one or two of his classes, and he's like infatuated with her and he wants to ask her out. And he's kind of like in a daze walking to his next class or whatever, and out of nowhere a ball like smacks him in the head and knocks him out. And the next thing he knows, the girl that he wanted to ask out is like helping him off the ground. And it's just like this amazing thing. Like they get along, they have a lot in common. They start dating. They make it through college. They buy a house together. They have 2 kids and this whole life. And one day, I guess everybody's out. She's getting her nails done. The kids are at sports or whatever. And he's just kind of sitting in the house. And suddenly he starts fixating on this lamp in the corner of the room. And there's something about this lamp that's just off and he can't figure out what it is. So he just keeps staring at it for hours while everybody's gone. Like he's just sitting in a chair, just staring at this lamp. And then it gets so weird that eventually at one point the lamp actually turns upside down. So it makes no sense. So it's just like hovering upside down, like impossibly. And I think he kind of hears the cacophony of, commotion of people coming back in the house when his family comes back home, but like he's still like completely fixated on this lamp. And like in the midst of all this, suddenly like he gets shook awake and he wakes up where he was knocked out, walking past the sports field at college. And it's been like a minute or two. He lived like 30 years of his life in that minute or two. And that just got me really thinking.
Yeah, man.
For somebody who's like had some serious head injuries, I was like, all this could be completely in my head. And it was just the weirdest moment because it was kind of like the emotional versus the visual version of seeing yourself standing in between 2 mirrors.
Okay.
I can see all the actions that took place within 2 minutes when I was knocked out, but basically in the ether or whatever you want to call it, not in the body. And then finally came back, like lived a whole nother life. Maybe zipped over to another multiverse. Like who knows what happened. And I'm thinking along this line, like none of that was real. And then I thought like almost immediately after that, I was like, what difference would it make if it was or wasn't? Like, it's completely real to that guy, and here he comes back. Boom. I mean, it's like got to be like a kind of a dream, like a great dream in a way, because now you wake up and you're 18, 19 years old again and you get to make whatever choices you want to make. I mean, not that they're all going to be great, but
right.
He didn't actually live that 30 years, but did he? And that just really got me like down this rabbit hole of like weird like syntax errors like I was saying before, like where
when you started
can get lost in that real easy, like that whole train of thought, because especially for anybody out there who's had like a near-death experience or a very traumatic experience where you have lost time, basically. You have a loss of time from like a head injury or whatever. It's a really weird quandary to find yourself stuck in that thought. Like, holy crap, what if I just woke up tomorrow and I was still outside of Mark's car? Oh my God, that hurts, you know, and I just get up and I'm okay.
That'd be crazy, bro.
Like, could you imagine? Like,
well, if that happens, you're going to tell me
then
that
and we're going to write a book series about it.
Not only that, but we're going to start podcasting before everybody else. We're going to invent the first podcast for the iPod, and like we'll be the OG on it. It'll be a thing. People are like, "Oh my God, these guys are so ingenious."
Paradoxical, because that means I had foreknowledge. So did it happen because I made it happen, or did I make it happen because I was supposed to make it happen, or
does it matter, or does it not matter all at the same time? But that may, as you were talking about that layer of sleep, you know, being out for 2 minutes, but it was 30 years.
Like Rip Van Winkle.
The movie Inception popped into my mind when they go into the dream world. Okay. Like when they slip over to the other side.
Never actually seen that. Heard about it.
Oh, bro.
I know.
Well, because here's the thing is what they do, you know, basic premise is they would go to sleep and then insert themselves into somebody's brainwave in a sense. So they would literally be a part of their subconscious during the dream.
That was done before. You know that, right?
What?
It was called Dreamscape.
Yeah,
okay, go on.
That's great. We can debate that later. I'm making direct reference to what was portrayed in Inception, because the way it was done is once in the dream world, if you were to then go another layer and put yourself to sleep in that dream, time dilation really starts to exaggerate, where every time you step another layer on another layer of being in that dream, time goes even longer. At one point, the one individual winds up getting a couple of layers deep. It's now, you know, the matter of like 5-10 seconds is 30 years, 60 years.
Oh, wow.
That they actually live within that dream world. So they have everyday knowledge, and they physically look older. Their perception of themselves is older because they believe it. They're so immersed within the dream world that is their reality. All the while, there's several layers outside of it. You're still within this world that you went asleep in originally, which is the matter of minutes, but you've now lived a 60 plus year.
Some wacky stuff I've heard, like Hindu meditation practices, like where you're going into not just the astral, but like basically the 12 other levels that are above, you know, the conscious living waking level.
Right.
That basically you start going up into those areas, and your body drops down to the point where it doesn't burn any calories, hardly breathes. Heart rate goes down to like some ridiculously low number. These guys could meditate for weeks on end without eating or drinking anything. I wonder, is it like the same thing though? Or are they just jumping like level upon level? Like you're saying, going into a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
Wild.
But
it's no less real.
Again, you telling that story and then getting to that.
That's where I was like, it went totally down this rabbit hole just from listening to that. It was a couple minute long story. So some of his videos are actually really fascinating.
A lot of his stuff is, but a lot of it is also very gruesome. Just not so much physical blood, but some of them could just be such harrowing tales that the thought of this being in existence, I don't want this in my brain. I need to know this shit exists.
The way he tells it, it's not.
Oh, he's a great storyteller.
He doesn't sugarcoat, but I'm just saying he doesn't like put it in your face. It's not that bad.
No. He's a great storyteller. Absolutely. I mean, I have nothing against his production or him or what it's just I don't want that shit in my brain. I'm good.
I watch them here and there because I'm still waiting to see another one like that one because I thought that one was because I'm pretty sure that one was his. Not positive, but
yeah, but
it's a very introspective, very interesting. I thought I'd like to bring that up kind of story because like the places my mind went after thinking about that and the possibilities. And
but all that touches on, just as you were saying with your own personal concussions, who's to say that you didn't have that kind of an experience, but because it happened so long ago, that memory has been, whether suppressed or washed out or somehow or another, no longer. It's in your brain somewhere rattling around, but you're not recalling that actually happened. You know what I mean? Not to say that I'm just as a hypothetical going again, like you were saying, that thought experiment. Who's to say that something like that didn't? Because I mean, that's also like butterfly effect. When he would think about that memory, he would literally flip into that time
and relive it all over again with the ability to change things.
To literally interact and modify the outcomes, which just goes to like string theory, entanglement, parallel dimensions, parallel timelines. I mean, all these different fringe science ideas as a whole, when you stack them together, to me, it just really points to that whole thing of this world really could be a simulation or seen as that. We've gone over that a few times where I'm very adamant in the idea that if this was, Grand Theft Auto in a sense, but you're in a meat suit, which is your avatar, and you're just VR inning.
I say that's exactly what it is. But you're thinking about it in technological terms, which
yeah, I'm putting it into a physical representation.
This
so
is
that you
organic
can understand.
technology, so but it's
Right.
not in the bleep blorp bleep kind of technology. Like
you send someone in to torture me.
Organic technology that is the human body. Yes, and we're not this.
Yeah,
it's a joke that we identify as this. This is really. What you see is nothing.
You're right. Well, that's all. I mean, I always say, even though I'm talking about it being simulation theory or, basically a giant video game, doesn't necessarily mean that, it's not real. It is real. But what is real? It's perception based. Just like you were telling with that story where this individual was out for 2 minutes, but literally lived a 30-year lifespan, day upon day upon day upon day, and has the memory of this. Isn't that the same kind of idea in a sense?
If consciousness creates reality, where do you draw that line? That was a 30 years worth of life that kid experienced within 2 minutes. Who's to say it isn't true? Because he still has all those experiences and memories of those experiences in his head. Moving forward now from 2 minutes past his accident. But that's a really weird thought.
And that's after seeing the butterfly effect, I had that thought experiment myself where it's like, what if I could literally, you have these scenarios throughout your life where you go back and forth and it's like, had I made this change here, well, what if you could recall that memory so well that you could insert yourself back into that timeline with all of this knowledge that you've gained, because it's 2, 7, 12, 30 years, whatever the time span since that memory, you have that knowledge collection from all of that. But now you're, what if I knew now and could go back when I was 18 kind of a scenario?
I think the point the movie tries to teach you about that, though, is sometimes trying to fix something that was destined to be actually makes things worse.
Dude, come on. We're talking about hypothetical science fringe crap. I get that kind of.
No, that was one of the things I thought was really interesting about that movie and was really kind of dark.
It's very honest, but
he did what was the right thing. What his friend and the weird dad that was trying to videotape him or whatever, and he stopped all that from happening.
Yeah.
But every time he tried to enact a change, something went haywire because of this butterfly effect. Basically, things were meant to go along a certain line, but once you change one thing, even something really small, it can throw everything else out of whack.
Yeah. But
anyway,
yeah, tangent man.
That's what I'm good at.
But that's why I'm saying these kinds of ideas to me is just it's the logic that explains how all of this could work. It's almost that aspect of the God particle, as they want to call it, that little piece that is actual life that makes things happen, which in all honesty could just be consciousness. I mean, like you said, when you're conscious of it, when you're aware of it, that makes it real.
I think the God particle is fungus.
It could be, but that
If
goes
it's
to
something tangible you're looking for. I think that's about as close as you can get.
So thinking about all that stuff gets me to, there's that, I think it was like a viral clip or something where a kid tries to explain to a dad how this world is real. And he's talking about like simulation theory or something or other that. And the kid just walks up and slaps him. He's like, that's how I know it's real. But in thinking about that, I know for myself.
But that doesn't even prove anything either.
I myself know I've been in dreams where I literally felt it. I know I felt it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I felt it. I smelt it. I saw it. I dealt it.
I was waiting for that.
But it had enough acknowledgement on my part, sensory-wise.
There's enough tactile feedback.
It made it real. So that's why, you making that statement of if it's conscious, if you're aware of it, that's what makes it real. So it doesn't matter if you are in a dream. It doesn't matter how you want to classify it. We're in a VR simulation world. We're in these meat suits as a fifth dimensional being or, whatever it is you want to describe it as. It all still comes down to the same idea that it could be any of this. And it may be all of it simultaneously.
And we chose it though.
Well, but that's
like we chose all this. If any of this stuff that I know must be true, that's it. Is that we started all this. We chose to do this. But
that's a whole nother conversation. Who we and this what?
Who we were all one.
But that's what I'm saying is it's any and all of these
what
things.
Is real, I guess, is the real point. What is real? There's no... Every concept you have of something that's real, the only thing that's real is immortal and timeless. That's weird because it's backwards to what you would think, right? That's the weird thing about flesh and having to live in flesh is that everything that you think of as when you define real is something you can see, taste, touch, feel, experience. It's something tactile. It's something physical.
Yeah, sensory.
But none of that is real. None of that. The only thing that's real is consciousness. And that's why I'm saying, does it matter if it happened or not? Because if it happened within his consciousness, then it happened.
Well, and that's, to me...
He got 30 years extra experience points.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing, though, is in that understanding... being that if consciousness is the only real thing, what is consciousness? Where did that come from? What is its starting point? That's why no matter what you want to explain any and all this as, I love going back to the question of just simply put, where did it all come from?
That was why the name was I Am. It was I am that I am. Where when you get into a point of meditation where you've separated enough from your physical form, you recognize that as the body, that dude down there. Like that's not like I'm now over here. So if you were to try and describe yourself to someone else in that same state, I am. Who are you? I am. That's all that matters. That is consciousness.
Yeah, but where did that come from?
That is the first thing. Where did it come from?
That's always been my biggest question. Where did any of it come from? How did any of this become possible? Because you had to have come from something.
And I'm sure there's a name for that theory too, but
yeah, it's called psychosis.
That even the highest God that you could possibly imagine, like the God of everything.
Where did that God come from?
Is that somebody's obnoxious teenager? There are another bigger dude behind all that, but I don't think it's that simple. Or maybe I don't think it's that complicated. I don't think it's that complicated because, and this is why I have such a problem with trying to put a physical appearance, to feel the need to create a persona that depicts the highest of all deities. Because I think it's probably more of like, what was Star Wars, the midichlorians, right? It is energy at its simplest form. It is light. It is universal consciousness. It is whatever term you want to put on it. It is the oldest thing that there ever was, and it will be around when we are gone. It's a state of being that we all share because it's all us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm aware of that idea. That's why I'm like, but where did all that come from? It puts me into this.
It just is though.
But that,
like at some point,
it just puts me into a loop of, but then where'd that come from? But
right, because we're designed with a brain that thinks in linear terms.
Thank you. I was going to say that.
So that there has to be a beginning and an end. This is something that has no beginning because it's both the beginning and the end.
Yeah, the snake that eats its own tail.
Exactly. And everybody describes it differently or gives it a different title, but I've always kind of felt that overall, we're all kind of looking for the same thing. We just put a different name on it. Some people find it easier to personify, give him a skin tone, give him muscles,
signifiers,
make him human. But, here I am using the term him, and I can't even apply that to something that is both timeless and without space and without material matter.
It's like just consciousness.
So like when you ask me like, where did that come from? It's like, there's nothing else that could birth consciousness.
How did positraction happen? Where's the rainbow come from?
But if you think about it, there's nothing else that could birth consciousness.
I'm not here.
It was here before, and it will always be here. It just is.
I don't know.
I would say so.
Yeah, it's definitely a good spot. Yeah, you at home.
I'm glad we had a chance to talk tonight. It's been really fun.
If to answer some of those questions with us, what is consciousness? What makes things real? Let's get a discussion going on that. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hit us in the comments on that one. Or hit him in the comments.
Or just hit me. I mean, if it makes you feel better.
Really.
It's not a big deal either way.
The boxer.
Just don't do the apple pie thing though. No. Let's just please.
Double tap.
Yeah, what are you doing with your fist?
Hey, depends on what they're paying. Just saying.
Yeah, I gotta pay my bills too, right?
Yeah, someone's got to pay my bills. It ain't gonna be you, but
no, it definitely ain't gonna be me.
You can take them both. Yeah, fam. We appreciate you checking in. As always, we consciousness.
That was
concussions.
That was one of the early grades too. Consciousness. That was one of the early ones. Closing up. Yeah, it's time. It
is time to go now, Mac. Wrap it up, B. All that good stuff.
So you're gonna say you were in the midst.
We went from consciousness to concussions. Well, concussions to consciousness and parallel universes. I like the idea of the multi-layer dream lives, whatever, but
that's fascinating too.
Yeah. I mean, if you at home want us to get into that more.
Yeah. I feel that topic could be much longer. I could talk about that for days probably. I'm not.
I think,
but I would love to. So if you want, just, it's maybe something we didn't even think of, but that just blew my mind the other night. I just had to share that. So
yeah,
it led me down this really weird, kind of semi-dark hallway of, but no regrets.
Like Donnie Darko shit. And there's like freaking giant.
Life has
Rabbit.
always been interesting, that's for sure. Never a dull moment.
But as always, be good to yourself. Be good to everything else.
Much love.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Sit, Hubu, sit.
Good dog. Woof.